While the West is discussing and struggling to meet the demands of Ukraine, Russia is doing its best to increase the production number of both ammunition and heavy weaponry in the current war. In this video, we are going to look at the numbers given to us by the Royal United Services Institute. The study that most of the video is based upon is in the description. The Royal United Services Institute is estimating that Russia will produce 1.325 million 152mm shells this year, as well as 800,000 122mm shells. In 2023, so last year, it was only 1 million 152, and 2022 it was only 250,000. In regards to 122mm Grad rockets, the number has risen from 33,000 in 22 to 500,000 in 2024. So what's that, 15 times as much, more or less? Uragan is increased from 2,800 in 2023 to 17,000 in 2024. Russia will at the same time, in addition to its own production, it will buy from Iran, Belarus, Syria and North Korea, and in total, according to the estimates by the Royal United Services Institute, Russia will have 4 million shells in 2024 and 2025. So Russia will be having artillery superiority when it comes to the volume of fire for the two coming years, at least according to the estimates by the Royal United Services Institute. When it comes to missiles, the Russians are producing now, in regards to the KH-101, that's the cruise missile that is being launched from their strategic bombers. They wanted to produce in 2022 315, but actually only managed to build 56. In 2023, they already produced 420. The number must have risen further because by now we have almost daily usage and often by several of those missiles. When it comes to the 9M723, the Iskander ballistic missile, Russia had roughly 50 at the beginning of the year on stock, at the beginning of 2023 on stock. In 2022, they built 6 per month. In 2023, they tripled the number to roughly 18. And at the beginning of the year, 2024, they had 180 on storage. Right now, they are using them on average daily or even more than daily, even though the KN-23 from North Korea will be some of it, as they are fairly similar in capabilities, in size, in profile. So it's not that easy to differentiate. When we have the message that an Iskander was used, quite often it might have actually been a KN-23. But right now, according to the latest number, it feels like they are roughly at least 1 per day that they can use. When it comes to drones, the Shahed 136 is the main attack drone. Iran was producing 40 a month at the beginning of the war. Russia and Iran together are now producing more than 250 a month. When it comes to armored vehicles, 1,500 tanks and 3,000 armored vehicles, other armored fighting vehicles will be produced in 2024 and 2025. That's according to the estimate by the Royal United Services Institute. But 85% will come out of depots, and the depots will run out roughly in 2 to 3 years, depending on the exact data. But the time is basically borrowed for the duration where the Russians can still produce 1,500 tanks a year. 225 MBTs and 450 IFVs are thus built anew if we take the numbers by the Royal United Services Institute, but they also mentioned that in regards to just the BMP-3, the Russians built 100 in the first quarter 23, 108 in the second, 120 in the third, and 135 in the fourth quarter, and that's already more than the 450 IFVs that they are supposedly newly producing according to the Royal United Services Institute. So that number can't be fully fitting, as we know that they build other IFVs, other APCs at the same time. To increase the numbers, they are downgrading the capabilities and the equipment of the fighting vehicles that they are producing. As an example, they mentioned that the Tiger M now has less NBC protection. This is obviously not that much needed unless they expect the Ukrainians to use weapons of mass destruction against them. Until this is done, less nuclear, biological, and chemical protection is probably affordable. And at the same time, if it helps them produce more, that's a smart way to do it. In other regards, they are choosing worse equipment. For instance, the thermal vision was in the past being acquired by Thales from France, whereas now they are buying it from Belarus and from China. According to the Royal United Services Institute, they are of lower quality, but still sufficient to do the job. Generally, we are seeing still components being delivered from the West, but according to the Royal United Services Institute, the production is being attempted at home to replace them, and what cannot be replaced is getting more expensive. They are expecting an increase of 30% in price, which means it's more expensive but not prohibitively expensive. It doesn't stop them from acquiring more, as they now have to pay middleman to still be able to buy it, but they can still get it. In other regards, the Russians, according to RUSI, are also having trouble to get gunpowder cotton. So when it comes to the explosives in both propellant as well as the artillery shells, they are now forced to be frugal. That can mean that either lower quality is being used or even less is used. This is in the reports here. And then, of course, that also means that wear and tear in regards to the barrels and accuracy are also missing. So while the volume of shells is higher, the effect isn't necessarily higher, and the Ukrainians confirm that. In the past, Ukrainian soldiers themselves, Ukrainian officers and analysts said that a 1-to-3 ratio is fine by them because they have more accurate guns and they have howitzers, they have artillery pieces that have a longer range because they get Western pieces of higher quality, whereas the Russians do not have the same quality but try to make it up with quantity alone, with sheer volume of fire. The Russians will be able to keep up a superiority in arms for the next 2 years, in shells definitely, but at the same time, in regards to quality, it's unclear. Now, in the West, we have rising numbers that are rising fairly steadily, but we need to be aware that a lot of it does not go to Ukraine. The Western powers have to refill their own stockpiles. They have customers, international customers, where contracts are signed, and not all of those customers accept that they'll be pushed backwards so Ukraine can receive the shells that are being produced. But still, though the production ramps up, Ukraine is getting more and can expect more freshly produced artillery shells. When it comes to IFVs and MBTs, well, we all know that the numbers are still massively lacking. Russia will keep its numerical superiority there for the next 2 years, even though in 2 to 2.5 years the stocks will probably run out, and then Russia will be forced to rely on its new production, whereas at that point the discrepancy in received weapons from the West for Ukraine and probably domestic production in regards to Russian production will no longer be that massive. That was it already in this short overview about the weapons that are currently being produced in Russia. As said, the study, which is over 40 pages, so I left a lot of it out. I just summarized it for you. The study is in the description. Check it out if you want to know more. They especially talk about sanctions and its effect as well, which I haven't even started to mention in this video. But if you like this video, please give it a thumbs up. It helps with the algorithm. Leave a comment. What do you think about the current situation? And if you're new here, I would like to invite you to subscribe to the channel and hit the bell icon so you don't miss future videos. This channel is only possible because of the support of viewers like you. If you like to support the channel, you can do so by the means in the description, but that's it from me for now. Thank you for watching, and I'll be back.